Misery Mire to what was he looking for again?
Yeah, I was calling it the Galaxy Brain routing yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it was really part of his routing or if he just gambled into it. We're also off here. What he found in there was the bow in the cutscene chest.
yep, that's right. So we're all underway. We have a pendant at Tower of Hera, and one of the 5/6 crystals over at Eastern, and a regular crystal for Desert Palace.
Yeah, we see g3rd0 here going right to Uncle and checking the tree pole. 10 arrows. Not too bad, not really super useful right now, but could be worse.
So Uncle doesn't have too much gems. Checking out the Lumberjack Cave here, most likely. See if we need to take care of Aghanim in this seat.
Yeah, good information to have early on. It's also just 10 arrows, so I doubt we'll see anyone go back for that one.
Probably not.
g3rd0 grabs a small key out of Sanctuary. That happened yesterday already. Quite interesting. We'll see where he continues from here. So gonna give us a quick map check while Gem is in the Lost Woods. I think it's already quite interesting to see how their starting routes have changed compared to yesterday. These guys, there's our first bottle. As we were saying yesterday, these guys really know each other and they know how they play and they kind of know what to expect from their opponent. So I'm assuming there's going to be a bunch of metagaming going on here in this game number 2.
Yeah, most definitely. Is what we saw in game one. It was why Jim made that play to head into Misery Mire. Kind of thought that he was behind, even though through most of the race he was in the lead. But he kind of figured that, going up against a strong opponent like g3rd0 here, that he had to try and make a play. And going for Misery Mire there is kind of what he thought he would do to try and, gain an advantage on his opponent.
Yeah, and it did pay off for him big time. He did say in the post-game interview that he felt a little bit bad, a little bit dirty, that he gambled that, and that it also paid off so well. We saw g3rd0 when he later on dipped into Mire. He kind of followed the God Mire hint by finding that big key first and then a small key. So he immediately went to Vitreous, which, not a bad decision at all when you're still looking for an item.
Mm-hmm. So we've got both of our runners heading down to the south route towards Kakariko. This is so that we can farm some bombs here from a couple of these bushes that have a 50-50 drop rate on some bombs.
Yeah, and this little route down here to farm bombs made all the difference yesterday in the seed. Gem had to stun a guard with a red boomerang that they already had and found out that the stun prize was a big 20, which made him able to buy whatever the bottle vendor had to sell, and in their case it was the flute.
Yeah, kind of like the best location for the flute to be there. You just gotta walk 3 steps to the right and you're activated after that, so...
It was extremely convenient, and it was extremely painful for g3rd0 because he was only 3 rupees short. He didn't leave it behind for too long, but it's not a good feeling.
And I just want to give a shout out to our tracker for this race. We've got LinkForce0 taking care of the tracking behind the scenes, so shout outs to him. Thanks a lot for helping us out here.
Yep, keeping track of all the items, like that fighter sword that both of our guys here just picked up from the race game. That's, you're always happy to find your first sword. That's gonna make stuff like the mini Moldome Cave a little bit easier, a little bit more manageable.
So full heart container, that probably is not going to be picked up by our runners at any point.
Yeah, I doubt anyone's going to come back for that, but we'll have to see. Maybe they'll be blessed with early boots again. Alright, both wrapping up Kakariko from the south here. Makes the most sense. Oh, and there's a glove on Sick Kid. That's very convenient.
Definitely.
Gerdo here. Gem managed to find an 8 bomb drop somewhere along the way. I didn't quite catch that, but Gerdo using a single bomb to farm some more bombs under these pots here, 4 guaranteed bombs to find. And there's his 8 drop.
Nice. A lot of 8 drops in the world. It was one of the blue guards down by the Haunted Grove area.
Oh, right. Killing those guards really paying off for Gem.
Yeah.
There's our first heart container. Ooh, and a nice bunch of money to afford whatever the bottle vendor is selling today. Maybe, I kind of doubt it's going to be the flute again.
That would be too weird.
It definitely will be. Well, that's a bad deal, I would say.
Yeah.
Alright, Gem's gonna finish up his blinds hut check here, and then he's pretty much gonna be done with this area.
I imagine based on what we've seen so far that we're probably going to get some South Shore play because there haven't been any items that are going to drive our runners in either any kind of direction. So South Shore has the kind of highest density out there on the map right now for them to get to.
Yeah, it's definitely a good choice. There's a blue mail in the back here. I think with a glove and the small key in Sanctuary, they might, well, maybe Gerdo more so than Gem, but they might be thinking about the back of Escape.
Yeah, it looks like Gem is going to be doing that.
Oh, he had already picked up that key. I pay attention, I promise.
Yeah, this is a nice, quick little check for 3 items, so definitely worth it to just take care of this as soon as you can.
Without the lamp, they might decide to forego checking out. Oh, never mind.
Never mind.
I guess we are going backwards here since we just found the lamp, so it's not even going to be in the dark anymore.
So,
really... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, well, Glove and Lamp kind of opens up a bit of Death Mountain, but there's not a lot of item locations that they'll be able to get to at this point. So it is an option now on the table, but it might not be one that our runners go for right away.
Yeah, probably gonna save that for a little bit. They also are already in the Zora money, only finding a heart piece here. And I think what we're going to see from Gem here is that South Shore play that you were talking about.
Yep, seems like it.
Gerdo picking up his hard piece. These guys are still very much on the heels of each other. I'd be surprised to see Gerdo do anything but the South Shore as well. Of course, there is Sahasrarla's hut and the back... the front part of Eastern Palace. Ooh, there's a Master Sword. And we see Gerdo now going into Escape, I guess?
Yeah, seems like it. That's that Master Sword. We're getting close to possible Aghanim at this point. There's still lots of locations for the runners to check. So we still have possibilities for Dark World access, but whenever you see a couple of sword upgrades and the lamp, I start to think Aga might be on the table.
Yeah, I think if we find the cape or another sword somewhere, we're definitely going to see some quite strong deliberation of going to Aga Tower.
So Gem went from the dam over to Agina's cave, which is an out-of-the-way location, but again, you're kind of maybe metagaming a little bit, thinking maybe Gerdo's going to skip this spot for a while, and if I can, check it out now, I might be rewarded.
Yeah, and I think that's also the reason why Gerdo is down here in Escape. Unfortunately, just a big 20 for Gem. And another heart piece for g3rd0. Both of these guys not really finding what they're looking for in their kind of meta-gamey locations that they're currently checking out.
Yeah, I imagine because these two guys know each other pretty well, that they're definitely thinking about what the other might be doing. I think it's a really interesting kind of context to be watching this match in.
I should have asked them before, but I'm really curious to ask them afterwards if they watched the race back from yesterday to see what their opponent did, and that's why we're seeing so much. Because, you know, yesterday it was kind of similar with the exception of that Mire routing by Gem, who's now picking up the shovel. But I feel like today it's a little more pronounced so far with the meta gaming from both of these guys. Jim even making his way all the way over to the Ice Rod Cave. Another out-of-the-way location, but I guess he really doesn't want to leave any single location behind just in case.
Just another bottle there in the Ice Rod Cave. So, where does Gem go next?
It starts at Sanctuary, so... Well, what's close to here? He's probably not going east from here, I would assume.
Yeah, maybe heading up Death Mountain at this time.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, but as you were saying earlier, there's not too much that they can check up there.
Yeah, we're just gonna have the old man and what's inside Spectacle Rock. So it's just 2 items and then a little bit of knowledge because you'll find out what's on top of Spectacle Rock. I mean, if we find the mirror or the hook shot up here, then that'll open up a little more.
It really depends on what these 2 locations will bring Gem. I'm a little surprised to see him not go to Sahasrara with how well it paid off yesterday, but maybe that's also why he's not going there. Well, that's a boomerang. I guess we can check the stun price, and getting that additional spawn point for when you save and quit is also always nice to have. I think this save and quit spot really becomes most valuable after you have the flute, because you always get a free health refill and it's the quickest to walk out of, so you can flute right away.
Yeah, good point. Just a single boring rupee on top of Spectacle Rock there, and Gem's just going to go for whatever the item is here inside Spectacle Rock, so we'll see what it is.
Well, looks like it paid off pretty well for Gem. Doesn't quite stave off the Aga yet, but a hammer find up on Death Mountain is pretty good. Unfortunately for Gem, it seems like g3rd0 is doing the exact same thing. And with Gem now apparently doing his part of the escape, we're gonna end up pretty much neck and neck again at the end of this.
Unless he takes a crazy left turn and goes just right up Aga Tower.
Oh yeah, that's of course a possibility. If he's doing Ganon, we're looking at something interesting. Alright, not gonna see anything new for us for a while. Both of these guys just basically checking what the other one already had. g3rd0 is gonna be pretty happy with this hammer here in a second. And Gem is gonna be pretty unhappy with all the stuff that he finds down here, which is nothing.
Yeah, it seems like neither runner wants to commit too early to any kind of Aga play. And seeing as we've got Hammer and Glove, we're just looking for the Moon Pearl now to get into the Dark World. So you want to make sure that you're checking all your locations before taking that time and heading up the tower, which is going to cost our runners maybe about 4 or 5 minutes. And they don't want to waste a second when they know who their opponent is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, where is g3rd0 going next? And as you were saying, not leaving any stones unturned, literally, as he picks up that stone. He's going to head over to the Eastern Palace area. Might even dip into there, depending. Maybe he'll find the bow beforehand. But he might even check into Eastern if he wants to.
Yeah, it's a quick 3 here in Sahasrara's hut, and then possibly 3 more items depending on how key logic works out in Eastern, but that dip takes a little bit longer.
Oh, and Gem is checking the shovel spot here. Find a 3rd bottle with the 2nd B, and more money and another heart in the back of Sahasrara's hut. Oh man, there is the Moon Pearl.
Wow.
Gem's Galaxy Brain Routing paying off a 2nd time.
Galaxy Brain Routing is like my favorite new term. I love it.
Yeah, I think I used Aqua that yesterday pretty well, so I hope it catches on.
Yeah.
And Gem's just gonna immediately head over here to the Hammer Packs, lift up that little stone, and go over here, check out Hype Cave.
Okay, so green pendant Skull Woods there, red pendant Palace of Darkness, and our 5/6 other 5/6 crystal. Ooh, I didn't quite catch that. Was it Misery Mire?
I missed it as well, unfortunately. It was such a quick check. Oh man, and now g3rd0 is heading into Eastern Palace, as we were saying before. I hope it pays off for him, because the longer he puts off that shovel spot, the longer it's going to take for him to be able to go to the Dark World.
Alrighty, so we find the flippers in the Hype Cave. So, that kind of redeems Hype Cave a little bit. Usually Hype Cave is not hype at all. So, flippers is a nice find.
Yeah, especially with the amount of money that they've already got. I think the best thing, at least as far as the flippers are concerned, would be to find the mirror now, so you can maybe, get that catfish pyramid check and then mirror back to Zora.
Yeah, that makes that whole part of the world really easy to route. So, yeah, that would be a really nice find.
Nothing too exciting so far. It seems like g3rd0 probably not too happy with this dip into Eastern Palace as well. There's a red boomerang.
And that might have been all 3 items, which is why he decided to save quit there. So nothing of value in Eastern Palace. They will have to go back there to finish that dungeon off at some point. But yeah, a little bit of a time loss for g3rd0 there.
Yeah, that's going to be an unfortunate double dip into Eastern Palace, but thankfully he won't have to go, it won't be too much of a time loss. And he's going right to the spot where he needs to go, so he'll be in the Dark World in just a second as well. And Gem is immediately putting his flippers to good use. He's going to check out what's on Lake Hylia Island, which is just a big 20. Going to flip her over to Hobo, and then most likely going to take the warp up to the Zora area and check out everything out there.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the cash to actually pay the big fish off, so might as well head over there while you can.
Alright, you were right, it was definitely Mire. That well as the other 5/6 crystal.
Nice.
Alright, g3rd0 coming back out of the hype cave with his flippers in hand while Gem warps up to the Zora area. g3rd0 probably gonna head up there over to the pyramid, and then, oh, never mind. Thought he might be going pyramid catfish, but he's proven me wrong immediately.
Yeah, that didn't take long. So not really seeing too much of value up in the Zora area so far. But a medallion hanging out on the ledge there, so that could come into play with both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock as crystal dungeons. That medallion could be useful to get into one of those two.
Yeah, I think Gem is definitely going to grab that. I think it was Quake, if I saw that right. We only saw like a slight little sliver of it.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been a bacon coin.
And another bad deal. The bottle vendor already giving us 20 bucks for 100, and now we're getting 50 bucks for 500.
So that Quake medallion is pretty good find for Gem. It might come in handy, but you know, it still isn't like an immediate progression item. It doesn't kind of give him any indication as to where to go next. So what we're likely seeing here is Village of Outcasts, maybe some Skullwoods dip, and then into Thieves Town after that.
Yeah, Pendant Skullwood's going to be interesting to see what our runners decide to do with that. They're probably very happy to see that Thieves Town is not a pendant this time around.
Yeah, Pendant Thieves is always a really tough one to make a call on. Usually you'll do the first 4 chests in that dungeon, but to go any further, it's a really tough call to make.
We'll have to see. I mean, maybe they want to save it until they get Fire Rod, because you might also want to grab that green pendant when you're already in there.
Yeah, I mean, if you pick up the Fire Rod in a seed where Skullwoods is your green pendant, I mean, it gives the dungeon a little bit more value just to full clear it. You get that extra item off of the green pendant after you're done with the dungeon. So, could see some runners go in there if we find the Fire Rod sometime soon.
Yeah, but as you were saying, first of all, we're gonna see a little bit of Village of Outcasts here from Gem, and probably a dip into Thieves Town. Might even decide to fully clear it out. I mean, he's definitely capable.
Yeah, and with the hammer in hand, that means that we can full clear the dungeon, because the big chest in Thieves Town is behind some hammer pegs, and runners sometimes will skip out on Thieves Town if they can't full clear it.
Yeah, you really don't want to leave just one item behind in that hammer lock big chest and then have to come back all the way later on.
So far what we're seeing is a pretty similar race to our first race with these two. Gem kind of moved out ahead in the first game and kept a little bit of a lead all the way through, with g3rd0 kind of following in his footsteps, and it's kind of turning out the same way so far. So it seems like g3rd0's going to have to make a move in a different direction to maybe try and break that trend.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we're going to see one of those crazy moves from g3rd0 today. With that Mire routing from Gem yesterday, he might be inclined to do it. I think it's already kind of interesting and a little bit amusing that that we've already seen so many little metagaming attempts. Do an escape early, doing an early uncle route, stuff these guys usually don't do.
All right, so not a lot in the first 4 chests there for Gem, but heading towards the back part of the dungeon now. Hopefully something a little more interesting will be back there, and just on his way to finishing up a crystal here, so definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, I have to admit I wasn't counting items, so I'm not sure how many are left in here. But at the very least, you're not going through here all the way just for a pendant at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Alright,
So,
2 items are left, it seems like. Link Force, our tracker, keeping me honest.
nice, good work. So g3rd0 again kind of going the same way that Gem decided to go here. Village of Outcasts and into Thieves Town first. Without Fire Rod in hand, you probably are thinking like, I don't know if I want to jump into Skullwood's pendant right away.
Yeah, I think this is just the most item dense, most logical route for these guys to take. As we were saying earlier, with a hammer in hand, Thieves Town also being a crystal, it's just a very attractive dungeon dive to make. You can finish it up, you can get a crystal, maybe find something on the way.
Yeah, and when you're 25, 26 minutes in to a race, you want to start putting crystals on the board at some time. So both our owners definitely feeling like we got to do something to kind of make some progress here.
Yeah, and really you feel kind of at least uncomfortable when a seat sort of railroads you into where you can go, or when you end up checking all the locations and you find nothing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You find a small key here in the cell with the fake maiden, so we're definitely going to have to check out the big chest. I think at this point the 2 items need to be in the big chest, which is a bomb upgrade and on blind, right?
I think we saw up in the attic there was 50 rupees, so I feel like blind might actually have either the map or the compass. I don't know. We'll see maybe if Gem does a little menu change here, but might not.
Oh, the blind puns.
So if you can keep blind, kind of, he follows the same pattern every time you fight him here, and if you can kind of get your hits in just at the right time, he'll never stray from that pattern. And Gem pulled that fight off perfectly there, kept him totally on the rails.
Yeah, very nicely done. Grabs the map as was predicted, and yeah, I mean the happiness about a crystal Thieves Town was immediately dampened by it having absolutely nothing except for the crystal at the end.
Mm-hmm. So this doesn't leave, too much on the table here. Gem can take a look in Skullwoods. There's potentially 2 items in there that we can reach at this time. If not, he's maybe got to make a play into, like Palace of Darkness without the bow or something like that. So there might be some interesting route changes after this here.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting decisions coming up here from both of these guys. I mean, g3rd0 just a little bit behind. He's going to be finishing up Thieves Town, but then he'll be faced with the exact same dilemma. Just a shield upgrade up on Bumper Cave. I doubt we're going to see anyone pick that up.
Nope, not likely.
And into Skullwoods we go. I mean, as we were saying, at this point, not a whole lot of choices left.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're already in the neighborhood. Might as well take a quick dip in and see if you can find anything.
Starting off strong.
Yeah, no kidding.
Alright, let's see if Jem is lucky and finds a small key here somewhere, and then he can at least skip out on that trap room. There it is.
Nice.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Locations are slowly running out.
Yeah, it's always a little disappointing when this first section of Skullwoods gives you both dungeon items there. You're hoping to just have to, dip in real quick here, but instead we're gonna have to go around to the one remaining location that Gem can reach at this point. g3rd0 looking really strong here in the blind fight, keeping him on track as well, and looked exactly the same as Gem's fight. Top notch right there.
Yeah, very nicely done as well from g3rd0 picking up his first crystal, and Gem picks up a disappointing heart piece.
So it looks like Gem might be heading over to the eastern area. Hasn't gone into Eastern Palace like g3rd0 did, so might take a look in there, or might be heading to the portal here to go for Palace of Darkness instead. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna check out Sahasrarla's hut. We already know that he's not really gonna find anything great in there. I think he might opt, if he wants to check both of them, he might opt to go into Eastern Palace first, just because he doesn't have the mirror yet.
Yeah, if he does choose to go into Eastern Palace, that's definitely going to help g3rd0 catch up. They'll probably be, kind of in lockstep after that.
Mm-hmm.
That looks to be the play here for Gem.
Yeah, definitely not a bad decision. I mean, unfortunately for him, we already know that there's not really going to be any progression in here that he can be happy about. But it's a logical play. It's definitely not a bad choice to check in here to see if you can find anything.
Yeah, and it's item locations that are available really early on in any race is to pop into Eastern Palace here. So probably thinking to clear out those spots before heading deeper into the logic of the seed here.
Alright, now g3rd0 about to pick up his heart piece. He seems to be walking back out here, so he's not saving and quitting. I'm curious to see what he decides to check from here on out.
Did he not take a peek at the bumper cave?
Oh yeah, that might be it.
Just do that quick little check and then maybe save quit after that. Nice use of the sword beams there by Gem, taking care of those Stalfos before they even spawned.
Yeah, that room always looks cool. And sword beams just make it a little bit cooler.
Oh, so g3rd0's going for a really long run here. Is he heading all the way over to Catfish and then maybe down to Pyramid and then into Pod from there? I'm thinking he might be going that way.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's checking a Catfish and Pyramid, and with the flippers he can jump right in the water here and come back out on the other side.
This kind of makes sense for g3rd0, seeing as he's already taken care of that Eastern Palace check that we just saw Gem doing, to just stay in the Dark World and, route in all your checks in one long run here.
Mm-hmm. And looks like Gem is at least heading towards Pyramid. I would assume he'll check Pyramid before he goes into Pod. He might even make his way up to Catfish, so these guys are absolutely still very much close to each other.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much we're 35 minutes in here, and we're basically on even ground. So this is really exciting so far.
Catfish just having an arrow upgrade, so that's not what we're looking for. Pyramid has an extra heart that Gem is gonna forego.
Yeah, blue mail and what do we got? 10 hearts there for both of these runners. That's definitely enough to get by. They're not going to be wasting any time with heart containers at this point.
Jim is also making his way up here. We're going to see a short little high five as they walk past each other.
So this routing is actually going to work out in g3rd0's favor, because I think that the play after this is going to be over to Palace of Darkness, and g3rd0 is going to be able to go from Pyramid here right on over, whereas Gem is going to have to save Quid again and then make his way back into the Dark World.
Yeah, the routing really worked out for g3rd0. He's staying in the Dark World, not having to do that Eastern Palace check that he did a little bit earlier. And I mean, at this point, where else would our progression be?
Yeah.
I'm really kind of stumped here. Oh, interesting. Gem is going to take the water warp here. That's going to make it a little quicker, I believe.
Yeah, that is a warp point that you don't really see too often in any Randomizer Siege or in any Link to the Past action at all. So kind of interesting that the good game knowledge to pick that up and kind of shorten his travel time here. So g3rd0 is our first runner into Palace of Darkness here. We have one chest on the left side that we can take a look at to see whether or not this dungeon is bow-locked. It's either going to be a progression item or a small key to get further into the dungeon.
What's it gonna be? And it is a small key, so we're checking some more stuff. I guess it's kind of par for the course. Pod is pretty much known as the small key palace, right?
Sure is. What is it, like 6 in total, I think?
Mm-hmm. 6 small keys, and usually most of those are somewhere in the first 6 chests.
Yeah. Alrighty, more keys so far here.
Let's see if this one is going to be a key for a key again. That's what it was yesterday, and it always feels bad.
Okay, big key there. Probably going to see another small key here, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at least they won't have to go through any dark mazes or anything. They found the lamp relatively early on. There's still going to be a couple of chests that they have to leave behind here. It looks like g3rd0 says, nope, I don't want to leave anything behind here, though. I'm going to use my red potion for a little bit of a potion glitch.
So what the potion glitch does here is when you use a potion while you're kind of in motion on that screen there, it unlocks the camera here, which allows you to pull those enemies off to the left side there, and the game thinks that they're dead, and so will open the door for you there. So good use of that pretty newly discovered glitch. g3rd0's going to have a look at 2 more chests here.
Another small key, and a bug net.
I'm sure he's really hype about finding that.
Oh, absolutely. Jem also doing the exact same thing, so he'll be finding his bugnet in just a second. Keep in mind all these items, or that one item that they managed to grab, it's technically sequence broken. We know that it does really matter because the bugnet doesn't really unlock anything for you.
It was nice that they were able to score another small key there, so they'll be able to open up everything in the back here. Guaranteed, I guess, but looks like the key logic is playing nice here, so they'll have no problem getting through the rest of it. Still looking for something to move this seed forward.
Yeah, and with all the keys and the map now as well, we're really waiting to get into the items here finally. I think g3rd0 really only has chests left that can have items at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Cape, that's cool. Ooh, Gem with a really nice hammer yump there. Setting up two pixel perfect bomb placement and jumps there. Ooh, we find the fire rod here in the dark maze.
That's a very nice find, and kind of an interesting find as well, because right now all that means is, hey, you can theoretically go back to Skull Woods if you want to.
So that play is looking a lot more appealing now. We've got one item still hanging out in the back part of Skull Woods, and then the green pendant item, which will be on Sahasrahla. So yeah, when we've got nothing else on the table, you know, those two item locations are probably where both of our runners are going to be going next.
Mm-hmm. This seed is quite interesting to me because it's been a constant back and forth between these two guys. Now g3rd0 is a little bit ahead again, not really by much, but it's just a constant back and forth, and these guys kind of being railroaded in where they can go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that these two guys are kind of running neck and neck here. I mean, all of our top 8 runners here in the quarterfinals of this tournament are top-notch. And so we've seen a lot of really close races, a lot of runners kind of staying pretty close to each other. So it's just kind of another example of that strength and the quality of the runners in the community here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, and g3rd0 is going to head right back into Skull Woods, as we were saying, Gem hard on his heels. I think we've yet to find the big key in Skull Woods, so that's probably one of the items that we're going to find in the back there.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, our first look at the back part of Skull Woods here is g3rd0 going to go straight for Mothula. Looks like it.
Yep, heading straight through. An interesting choice, because we might have to check the big chest for the second item, and that means we can't just save and quit, and without the mirror, having to grab whatever might be in that chest there at the beginning of the back entrance of Skullwood, it's going to be a little time intensive.
Yeah, it's definitely a gamble I see a lot of runners make, that the second item that you're looking for in this dungeon is just going to be on Mothula. If it works out that way, then you've saved yourself a bunch of time. But if not, you have to backtrack just a little bit.
g3rd0 having a pretty good time with Mothula so far.
Yeah, that fight looked really good.
Oh man, really? That's our second item. I guess it's the green pendant again. Gem opting to go for the hammer stretch here. Might be a little harder, but hammer does a little more damage.
And as we see, he got through that fight a little bit faster, so gaining that little bit of time back.
Yep, also grabs his green pendant, so he'll be on his way to Old Man Sahasrara as well. What could this be? What would open up the most crazy stuff for us? I guess mitts would be pretty good, right?
Yeah, mitts would probably be pretty good. Although it wouldn't give us a whole lot, actually, based on what we've got so far. I think I saw Ack in chat saying something about maybe hookshot. I think hookshot would be kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. What?
Oh no, Spike Cave? Is that it? Is that all we got?
I mean, let's see what g3rd0 does here. He's grabbing some bombs. What does he plan on bombing here?
Oh, he's going to be going to Agina's cave because Gem did that check earlier, but g3rd0 did not. So he's got the bomb ready for that one wall in there.
Right. And Gem seems to be making his way up to Spike Cave, which at this point, really, I mean, what else could it be? I was saying that earlier, and it wasn't any of that, so it has to be.
So the back and forth kind of continues here. It looks like this is most likely going to be our progression, and this is going to put Gem ahead again by just a little bit.
Yeah, I think with the exception of this Agina check that g3rd0 is doing right now, they have pretty much exactly the same checks left, so he should be heading up to Spike Cave right after this. Alright, here we go. And it's the mirror in the last possible location to check for these guys.
Now, what this is going to do for, I think, both of these guys is they're going to think that they're behind, because this is a location that they, could have theoretically checked quite a while ago. So, the route now is to check out Tower of Hera, get over to the east side of Death Mountain. There's going to be a lot of things that open up there, but we might see a couple of kind of like more out there plays, seeing as they might think that they're behind.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that works out. I mean, logically, the Spike Cave hasn't really been there until they had that cape, and they found the cape in Pod, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So while they could have checked it a lot earlier with all the bottles that they had, the logic didn't really demand it, I guess.
No.
It still feels bad, obviously.
Yeah. I guess if you're kind of thinking that your opponent did something kind of more out there by going to Pod much sooner, then you might be in a world of hurt. But yeah, it wasn't one of those first plays. You wouldn't think that you would go to Pod right away with given what we had earlier in the seed.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Jim is right out of there again. He says, nope, not even going to check any further.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty common check, just to check that first floor of Tower of Hera when it's a pendant dungeon. You don't really want to waste too much time in there. I mean, especially since the mirror opens up quite a few locations to check, so you've got a lot more options before you want to dive into a pendant dungeon.
Yeah, you want to keep those out as long as you can, especially, you've already full cleared Skull Woods in a double dip. And it didn't really get you much.
But I mean, as we saw in their first match, a pendant dungeon was the right call, and g3rd0 is going to keep going up Tower of Hera here. Ooh, meanwhile, Gem scores the Titan's Mitts there in the Spiral Cave.
Yeah, looks like the Galaxy brain routing from Gem strikes again. Dipping out of Tower of Hera and going right for that Spiral Cave.
Really nice setup for that bomb jump there.
Yeah, very nicely done from g3rd0. Gem is going to give us that check into the Paradox Cave.
Gem finds the blue cane. That's not going to be of too much value. And really just kind of a bunch of trash in Paradox Cave here. So the big find on East Def was those Titan's Mitts for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That really opened up the seed a little more than it was before. The mirror helps a ton too. So yeah, Gem just going to be finishing up the Dark Death Mountain here. And g3rd0 grabs his pendant. There is an item left in the basement, so he's even gonna go check that.
So this is an even bigger time sink here. You know, doing Tower of Hera, taking care of Moldorm there, it's, you know, a bit of a waste, but it doesn't feel too bad. This one here, you're sitting stationary for 45 seconds waiting for these tiles to all play out. This is one of those ones where you're, it feels bad if you end up wasting the time down here.
I mean, if this pays off for g3rd0, that's gonna be some multiverse brain routing.
Yeah, yeah. How do you compete against Galaxy Brain? You got to go multiverse brain.
Yeah, that's the best I could come up with.
I was thinking maybe like universe brain.
Yeah, but like Galaxy and Universe, I guess. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That would be like the next step up, I guess, right?
Yeah, true. Oh, and there's the bow for Gem in the Hookshot Cave. And he also found the Hookshot, by the way.
We found out that Quake is the medallion needed to get into Turtle Rock.
Alright, so we're pretty good on the medallion so far. Of course, we have no idea what we need for Misery Mire yet, but for all we know, might also be Quake.
Alrighty, so we managed to snag quite a few things. This seed has kind of opened up a fair bit at this point. Our runners have a lot of options ahead of them. So it may look like Gem's got a bit of a lead here, but there's a lot of decision-making still to be made here. Once g3rd0 grabs all the goods here on Death Mountain, he could go in a different direction that might pay off. So interesting to see what our runners decide to do next.
Yeah, we're only at one crystal in so far, and there's a lot of stuff left to check, so, you know, there's plenty of chances for g3rd0 to come back, or for the lead to change a couple more times. We'll have to see, though. That time investment into Tower of Hera and the Tower of Hera basement, that might be what comes back to haunt g3rd0 later on.
So Gem also grabbed a mushroom there in Cave 45. So just another fetch quest item to kind of put on the table there. Probably not going to take care of that, you know, right away. There's not really any reason to head up to the potion shop at this point. If we get the flute, it makes that check a little bit easier.
Yeah, with the flute in hand, it's a really quick check. You can also, if you want to, refill on some potions just to be safe. Without the flute, since they already cleared out Catfish and Zora, they don't really have a reason to walk all the way up there. just a big 20 in the hammer packs here. I'm gonna assume that Gem will finish up the whole sequence, including the purple chest, after he brings back the dwarf.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good bet. I might, I'm thinking maybe he takes a gamble, and, not a gamble, I guess, but decides to go into maybe Swamp Palace next, after doing this sequence.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. He's got that hook shot, he got the mirror, he's got the flippers, it's a crystal, there's a lot of items in there.
Yeah, a lot of runners would like to go mode Swamp Palace, and also Ice Palace is pretty popular for that. But you know, when you still got a lot of things on the table that you're looking for, and Swamp Palace is available, you know, there's a lot of items in there, so you might find what you're looking for.
We'll have to see what Gem does with the left side of Swamp Palace. First, he's going to grab the silver arrows from the magic bat, which is always very nice. No silverless Ganons today. Oh man, and were we wrong? Is Gem indeed checking that mushroom before he brings back the purple chest?
This is interesting, taking care of a lot of the overworld fetch quest stuff. I mean, if the correct play is to dungeon dive instead, and g3rd0 just makes a go at a dungeon now, you know, we'll be all caught up here.
Yeah, and it's definitely looking like g3rd0 is headed right for Swamp Palace.
Alrighty, so the big plus here is that Gem did pick up silver arrows from the magic bat. Now, if we end up quickly moving through the seed, end up in go mode pretty quickly for our runners, g3rd0 might actually miss that check and will be silverless.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they have more luck with their swords today. I mean, at least we found the silvers already. g3rd0 yesterday, probably one of the unluckier things that happened to him in that seed was missing that one bomb jump and leaving the only chest in ice, only a single chest behind an Ice Palace, and that happened to be the chest that had the silver arrows.
Alrighty, so these two guys are going to be in the dungeon pretty much at the same time here. Gem has a couple more overworld checks in his bag, and g3rd0, having done Tower of Hera, has those checks taken care of. So kind of they traded off some quick little checks there, and now they're kind of focused on the same thing again.
Yeah, that's Swamp Palace. 6 items, 6 potential items in here. Not all of them have to be good, unfortunately, but we'll see. That left side of Swamp, also a thing, I think I mentioned this earlier, Gem kind of used to be known for skipping left side Swamp a lot of the times. I'm not sure if he's been cured of this ailment yet, or if he still likes to skip out on it. We'll see.
I feel like at this point it would be a matter of whether or not he feels behind. And if he's thinking he needs to cut a few corners here and there, then he might decide to skip on left side and just leave it. We'll have to see. Or he could be thinking that he's got to just play it safe and should just make sure to full clear in any case.
Yeah, I think a couple of things play into that. Ooh, and g3rd0 grabs the flute here, so that's definitely an item that both of these guys are going to grab. I think it also depends on how many items Gem finds. Since he found the compass in the first chest, he might be a little more inclined to also check out the left side. We see though that g3rd0 has decided to at least first do Argus. I think we'll see them both come back for the left side eventually. But I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them go straight to Argus and then, come back for the left side later on.
Yeah, that seems like the most likely play at this point. And given that we do have a few items that we're still looking for our go mode situation, it's pretty likely, I think, that both runners will do left side after taking care of the boss.
g3rd0 also showing off everyone's favorite staircase in this game.
Yeah, for whatever reason, that one, whenever you come up from it, it always, unless I think if you have the boots and you're holding left on the directional pad when you go up the stairs, you can kind of dodge that, but for whatever reason, it doesn't quite load properly and it sends you right back down the staircase there. So a bit of a little annoying piece there, but only a couple seconds lost.
Also picked up an ether medallion that Gem is about to grab when he makes his way back to the big chest. Skipping out on that for now. I guess he really plans on doing the left side as well.
Yeah, I guess, and with the big key in hand, you'll do all the left side and the big chest kind of all in one go there. So that kind of makes sense. Plus, we've actually seen both of the dungeon items, the map and the compass, so that means that the left side is holding a couple of items, so that's probably going to lead both of our runners back into the dungeon. It would be odd if they skipped out, I think.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. We're also going to see Master Sword Argus here. You need 2 slashes for each puff, which is a little annoying, especially when you're hooking them like g3rd0 is doing from below. If you don't time it right, you actually get hit, and it can be quite annoying. And also quite dangerous. Oh, Cane of Samaria. We grabbed the flute, a medallion, and the Cane of Samaria and Swamp. Who wouldn't go to Mire next?
Yeah. And that's a lot of things to find in this kind of first part of the dungeon. We could see a left side skip.
Yep, and g3rd0 says, nope, I'm out of here. I think this is definitely leading me somewhere, and I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean, if Jam decides to go back in, then we'll see what's on the left side there. But he's also skipping out. Okay, so hopefully the left side isn't holding anything there, because that's going to be really unfortunate for both of our runners.
Yeah, we also see that Gem made up a little bit of time by hooking 2 of the puffs at the same time. And he's going to make up even more time since g3rd0 stopped for K45 grabbing that mushroom. Both on their way to activate their flute. Oh, I guess Gem is... What's Gem checking?
Oh, he's activating his flute. He's just choosing a warp there? I don't know. I guess that makes sense. Saves having to lift the rock, I guess. So that couple of seconds saved, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be worth pointing out here, as chat has already kind of mentioned, that Gem left Ether Medallion back in Swamp Palace there in the big chest. So if that is our Misery Mire Medallion, that's going to be a big problem for him.
Oh yeah, that might definitely come back to haunt him if he's unlucky and we need that. He'll find out in a second, but he'll have obviously no idea where he can find it. Oh, and it's Bombos.
Wow. So the one that neither of our runners has.
Yeah, that is the best possible outcome for Gem, I would say.
Yes. So this really kind of flies the seed wide open at this point. That Bombos medallion can literally be anywhere at this point. It can be in Turtle Rock, it can be in Ice Palace, it can be in Eastern Palace. We have all our items. Desert Palace. Oh, there's some boots.
Look how convenient. We have the boots on Desert Ledge. I was just gonna say we'll have to find out if Desert is boots locked, but who cares? And yeah, it was indeed boots locked.
Alrighty, there's our small key for the dungeon. So we'll be heading over to the right side, looking to see if either of the two items in the dungeon are over there. Should be one at least.
Yeah, nice little free refill there for Jim. I think he's pretty much had enough of all the hearts by now.
Yeah, no kidding. Alrighty, so that was the second item in Desert Palace that Jem just found. Just a big 20. So heading straight for Lamb Mollis now.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where he decides to go next, because after Desert, he's... Well, I mean, it's Ice Palace or Turtle Rock, right?
Yeah.
And it's both dungeons that you don't really want to go through unless you have to. Ice Palace definitely a dungeon you want to go mode if you can under any circumstance. And Turtle Rock without the ice rod, you know, one of the typical rando conundrums, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of runners like to leave Turtle Rock to their last crystal dungeon so that they can just quickly zip over to Ganon's tower. So that also, and the additional trip up the mountain, that kind of factors into it as well. So Jem's got some options, and we'll need to see. It'll be interesting to see which one he decides to go for.
Almost. Oh, well, he gets the one cycle, gets him from below just before he dives back in. Landmo dead, and we grab our next crystal here for Gem. Alright, I'm gonna assume Gem is gonna go for the checkerboard check here, just to not leave any single item locations behind. It would be very inconvenient.
Yep, makes sense.
Ooh.
Yeah, you want to pick that up. Come on. There we go. Tempered sword, very nice.
Alright, so this is gonna be a much more, you know, relaxed Ganon fight than the one that we had yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting route by Gem here. He's gonna go ahead and check the King's Tomb.
You know, probably a little bit quicker than a save quit. Wow! Galaxy Brain strikes again.
Yeah, seriously, I mean, at this point, Jesus. Gem, what are you doing? There's the Bombos medallion. We might just see him go right back to Mire. Yeah, well, it looks like he's sent on the Bonk Rocks first of all.
Really clean Landmo fight from g3rd0 there. So we are just an ice rod away from go mode here, although we still have a couple of places for that item to actually show up. So it's not by any means over. Hopefully g3rd0 kind of gets a little whiff of that logic there and decides to take a look in the King's Tomb as well.
Yeah, I definitely hope he won't save that for last. But as you were saying, ice rod for go mode item, it's just awful.
Yeah, it's the kind of item that could potentially bring the Tower of Hera play in for Gem here. Even though he's got a bunch of other places to check first, he might start to suspect that and might go for that, which we know g3rd0's already checked it out. It's kind of a waste, but it just can be anywhere, that ice rod.
Yeah, you only need it to beat Trinex, and in this seed we definitely need to beat Trinex because he's holding one of our crystals, so it can literally be anywhere. We could be looking at an ice rod on the tablet, maybe.
Alrighty, so into Mire here, and our first of 2 items in the dungeon has been found. Just a bomb upgrade there, so far not a whole lot.
Oh, maybe this mushroom check will make g3rd0 swim over to the King's Tomb as well.
And Gem, please. I'm trying to do a little hover there. It didn't work out so well, but he's got a small key and the big key, so he's just going to go right for Vitreous now.
Yeah, we see this a lot. We saw that yesterday from g3rd0. It didn't pay off for him. I guess Gem can't believe that it wouldn't pay off a second time. So we'll see where this goes. g3rd0, meanwhile, decides to dip in the Ice Palace. Also a very good choice.
So, having found 1 item in Misery Mire already, I wonder if Gem might choose to just skip out on that second item again. Maybe he's starting to get a feeling that Ice Rod is in Turtle Rock. It'd be interesting to see if he decides to go back into Mire. Having already skipped Left Side Swamp, he's not averse to leaving things behind.
Yeah, that is going to be a very interesting decision. Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you could say, okay, he already skipped Left Side Swamp, he might be willing to skip more. On the other hand, he might be saying to himself, maybe I shouldn't skip even more and leave me open to, actually leaving it behind somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But lucky for him, he grabs a green rupee, which is the second item.
Nice, that's well played. No need to worry about leaving something behind in Misery Mire today.
Oh, and g3rd0 misses the activation of the second Selphos, needs to throw another bomb here. Alright, I guess we're finishing up Eastern Palace. Might even check the Pyramid Fairy afterwards.
Yeah, that would give you 2, 5, 6 crystals, which will open up another 2 items. Ice Rod could be hanging out there.
Alright, thankfully Gem won't have to go too far into this. He can skip out on the vanilla big key location as we saw earlier. He just has to go right to the back, shoot a couple silver arrows.
Yeah, this will be a really quick clear for him.
And since we already have all the items out of here, this is purely for grabbing a crystal, and more specifically for grabbing that Pyramid Fairy crystal, I think.
Mm-hmm. So nothing hanging out on the right side of Ice Palace there.
Slowly running out of locations for g3rd0 to check in Ice Palace here. I mean, he'll come out with another crystal, which is always good.
Yeah, we've got big chest. I don't think he's been to Freezor here, and then we'll have the iced tea room.
Very nice Armos Knights here from Gem. Grabbing his crystal and a book for g3rd0. That's probably not what you want to see.
No. Works out well that that'll be the third item in Ice Palace, so no need to head over to Ice Tea Room. And with that, he'll have 2 more item locations that he can check, which could house our Ice Rod.
Alright, here goes g3rd0 into his Cold Steer fight with the Tempered Sword. Pretty good. Pretty doable, I would say. Gets him in nice into the corner as well. Very nicely done.
Yeah, that's about as smoothly as that can go. Really, really nice fight.
There's Jim with a nice damage boost so he can dash with the bomb. I wonder if he's going to give us a bomb dupe. Yeah, looks like it. Very nicely done. Screen transition just as it hits 0, and you're gonna be back with the bomb in hand, saving you a whole lot of time. Well, I guess not a whole lot, but a bunch.
Ooh, g3rd0's on the right track here. He's heading for that Bombos medallion.
Oh, but did you see what Gem just picked up off the left chest?
Yup.
1 hour, 18 minutes into the seed, we are officially in go mode for Gem. So that not only means he's a little bit ahead of g3rd0, that also means he can now go mode Ice Palace. The dream of every runner, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, this cuts the time that you spend in this dungeon at least in half. It goes, like, lightning quick compared to a full clear.
g3rd0 now, as you were saying, has picked up his Bombos medallion, so he's not too far behind. Yeah, we'll have to see when he... If he also makes that decision to go right to Pyramid Fairy after this. Or if he takes the bait into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, those really are the 2 ways that you could have done this, is either thinking that it's in Turtle Rock or collecting for Pyramid Fairy, I think. So, I think based on the percentages, you might see g3rd0 head for Turtle Rock, especially maybe he's thinking he's behind, he's got to make some kind of play. So, yeah, we'll have to just wait and see.
Alright, g3rd0 now heading into Misery Mire as Gem is making his way through that go mode Ice Palace. You'll see just how much quicker it is in just a second. There's going to be a nice little Ice Palace bomb jump, and then just straight to the boss, and we're pretty much done.
So as our 2 runners are kind of clearing out dungeons that we've already seen here, just a quick mention on our schedule for today. After this match, hitting Speed Gaming at around 6 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to have the Andy Salty Fry Game 2 match coming up, so stay tuned for that on this channel. We got lots of quarterfinal action going on for the next couple days here in this tournament. And if you like what you've seen from our two runners here, give them a follow, as Walter IV has just put in the chat there. g3rd0 and Gem run this game like super pros, and they're definitely worth a follow. So support them here. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are giving us 2 really crazy seeds and 2 really crazy matches. They definitely deserve all the support they can get.
And much like g3rd0, Gem making that fight look easy.
But he seems to have messed up his, g3rd0, that seems to have messed up his little spooky glitch there. He needs to actually bomb open the wall and manually hit that switch. Alright, all that is left for Gem is that Turtle Rock as his last crystal dungeon, and as we were saying earlier, one of the more convenient dungeons. I would say right after Tower of Hera, the second most convenient dungeon.
Yeah. And speaking of Tower of Hera, looking at how this run has kind of gone for our runners here, that play into Tower of Hera is kind of making a little bit of the difference here. I mean, g3rd0 spent, a good 4 or 5 minutes clearing all of that out, heading up to Moldorm, and then doing the tile room as well. We can't say for certain like that would be the only thing that made a difference, but it certainly kind of contributed to the advantage that Gem has in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just small things like that, and it's obviously completely understandable why g3rd0 did that, but it just didn't work out for him.
That's definitely the nature of the randomizer. So it looks like g3rd0 is on the right track here. Going to be doing Eastern Palace here to get his other 5/6 crystal. We'll then likely follow Gem and do Pyramid Fairy as well. So that's good. He's still got a lot of time to make up, but at least he's on the right track and he's not making a crazy gamble into Turtle Rock. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised to see him go to Turtle Rock after this, especially since he's already got all the items out of here as well. So the only reason he should be in here is to grab whatever the Pyramid Fairy is holding, and thankfully for him, that's exactly the right decision.
So we're just looking for the big key and a couple of small keys here in this dungeon for Gem. The sooner we can find those items, the quicker we'll be able to get through the dungeon. There's not a lot of time you can really shave off of a Turtle Rock play, but if the key logic works out well, you can skip a few locations. It does make it a little bit smoother.
It's looking pretty good so far. We already got the big key. We've got at least one small key for now. We're going to grab a couple more on the way, hopefully. g3rd0 almost to his Armos Knights fight with the silver arrows in hand as well. Gonna be just as quick as Gem made it look earlier.
Wow, I really like that play on the Armos Knights there, going from that central location and kind of spamming your arrows outwards there. That really looked pretty smooth.
Yeah, perfectly done. Not a single miss. Pretty much as quickly as you can kill them. And g3rd0 is indeed heading right for that big bomb, and then obviously to the Pyramid Fairy.
So it feels like g3rd0 is just going to be getting into Turtle Rock as Gem is leaving, which is a little bit of a deficit to be making up. But you know, stranger things have happened in Rando. We could see an interesting Ganon's Tower left side, right side kind of play.
Yeah, unfortunately for g3rd0, that book is indeed leading him on a little bit of a goose chase here.
Yes, it is.
I was worried for a second that he would be heading back into Swamp, but thankfully he's hopefully only checking this tablet. You better be heading back to that bomb shot, my good sir.
Oh, and the keys have worked out here in Turtle Rock. We've got one more key picked up there, so we won't need to do Laser Bridge.
Yeah, which is always very nice. Laser Bridge, really the biggest time save you can grab here in a Gomo Turtle Rock. I guess skipping out a Mimic Cave also saves a bunch of time, but other than that, Laser Bridge probably the biggest time save you're gonna get from a Gomo Turtle Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So g3rd0 on a good track here to pick up his Ice Rod. It only cost him a little bit of time with the tablet check. You know, it's every second counts here for him really, but it's an understandable check.
So Trinix should be no problem here with the Tempered Sword in hand. This makes it pretty easy.
Yeah, no problem at all. Now the big snake is going to come out from under its shell. With the Tempered Sword, as you say, not really much of a problem at all. Lots of explosions, yet another heart container, and our last crystal finally. And you know what that means, don't you?
Oh, I certainly do. We are heading towards Ganon's Tower, and I think we like to play a little game around here. So there are 22 chests in the basement of Ganon's Tower, and we're looking for the big key. And we'd like you to put your guesses in the chat there, number 1 through 22. What chest do you think the Ganon's Tower big key is going to be in today?
Well, my number usually is always 8, and I'm going to stick with that, but I'm also going to preface it by saying it was 8 yesterday, so I'd be very surprised if it's 8 again today.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened. I like to go for one of the chests in the rando room, so if our runners do the usual right side first 2, then left side after that, it's usually like around chest 11. I'm going to say 11 today.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
Alright, so Gem does check the first 2 and is going to be heading over to the left side. Small key there on the torch.
We're not seeing the right side play that we normally see people do. Oh, and once again.
So that was chest 7, yeah?
Yep, chest number 7. Gem making all the right decisions here now, already up to the Mimic Room.
Looking pretty clean so far in these first few rooms. We're going to heading up to the gauntlet next.
Gem doing a very nice job of getting through here. These Stalfos can give you a little bit of trouble sometimes, but they seem to be at least halfway cooperating. Well, just as I say that, it jumps away.
Yeah, of course. Keeping the silver arrows out for this section. Some runners choose to use the fire rod there, especially in this room in particular. You get a little bit of splash damage that usually gets the Stalfos Knight there a little quicker, but to each their own. Both strategies usually work out pretty well. Having a little bit of trouble here with the Lamos fight. Maybe a little bit of nerves creeping in here. You know, you're an hour 30 in, you know your opponent is g3rd0, and you haven't seen the dot done yet. So you're thinking like every second counts. You might be, you know, a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, especially for Gem, who has already 1 win in, so he knows that if he manages to pull out this win, he's already in the money. Gonna be at least taking home 500 bucks, if not more, if he can manage to advance even further.
Just like that, we're pretty much at the top of the tower here. Gem's making really good time. Just a couple little blips along the way there.
Yeah, obviously not going to be checking any of these chests. I guess the only thing that Gem might be hoping for is some more arrows, maybe half magic or something, but...
No problem with Troll Dorm today. Did it look like Gem was going to give us like a little hover there, but then maybe not?
Yeah, he started it up just, you know, to troll me, probably. Me, personally. Alright, here goes the Aga 2 fight. Let's see what we can get out of this guy today. Pretty nice positioning here. Good for a double at the very least.
Yeah, pretty solid start.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah, it's like just a single on that one.
And another double, so 1 more to go. He got hit there by the last one. That was unfair.
All in all, a pretty solid Aga fight. We'll be heading on to take on the Big Pig in just a second here.
Yeah, Gem playing us the song of his people on the door with his hook shot. Alright, so g3rd0 entering Ganon's tower just as Gem is jumping into the hole here to fight Ganon. Getting a nice little spin in there and getting him down at the wall. That is going to make for a quick phase 2.
Couple of nice little dash pokes here to get those hits in on Ganon. already into phase 3 here. It's a really quick fight so far.
Yeah, looking very nice. 2 slashes in, 2 more to go, and then all we need to do is put 4 silver arrows in his dome.
Ugh, Ganon, please. No more teleports.
Right, 2 arrows in, no torch glitch, no problem, no. That's arrow number 3, 1 more to go. And here we go. Now, barring any horrible mishaps,
I think that's gonna do it there for Gem. As long as he can get up these 3 steps here, put your GGs in the chat. There we go. Gem is
GG's to Gem.
moving on to the semifinals.
Very, very nicely done here by him, and of course also very nicely done by g3rd0. He is not far behind at all, especially considering what this seed gave us. g3rd0 now running back past the cannonballs, also almost up at the gauntlet. And I think we got Gem here, so let's get him in for his post-game interview and find out how he feels about already earning some money. Hello there, Gem. GG. Very nicely played. You've made it. 2-0 versus g3rd0. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I did not expect to go 2-0.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Is there anything that sticks out as like particularly weird or special in the seed?
Well, I kinda like expected there to be something spiky when I went to Skullwoods because well, you just got the cape and pot, but already halfway to Kakariko, and I thought, well, I guess I'll just keep going. And yeah, I guess I saved a bit of time there, but it didn't matter in the end, luckily.
Yeah, it didn't matter too much, especially since you guys, I mean, I think, I obviously, I can't look into your guys' brains, but it looked very much like you both tried to metagame each other a lot more than you did yesterday. There was a lot of, you know, weird early uncle checks, strange early escapes, stuff like that we're not used to seeing from you, I would say.
Yeah. I think the most metagamey thing I did was checking Pyramid and Catfish before pot.
Yeah,
Because
that was pretty good.
it's like g3rd0's trademark play, so I just went for it in case there is something there.
I think the big difference maker, or at least the first big difference maker that I can remember, is that g3rd0 fully committed to the Tower of Hera play. He went up to Moldorm, he did everything, he even went back in and did the tile room in the basement. It didn't turn out to be anything, obviously, but I think that was the first big difference maker, and it kind of started building from there.
Yeah, I told him I was really disappointed when I learned that he did Hera.
Yeah, well deserved, maybe.
Because we both know Pen and Terra never has anything.
Yeah, Sabo, you got any questions, anything you want to ask?
I don't know, it felt like it was a really kind of linear seed, even though you guys had a little bit of divergence early on. It really seemed to be kind of pushing you in one direction only for the first, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour of the seed. I don't really know. Did you were you thinking at all? I guess we were talking about metagaming, I guess, earlier. Did you think at all about I don't know, when you find like when that big kind of bounty came up on East Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain, did you start to think that were you starting to think about what plays g3rd0 might make then, and then kind of routed accordingly?
No, not really. At that point, I just like did my own game. Well, I just figured that he would do left side swamp.
Yeah, well, both of you actually skipped out of that, so that was interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised about that because he's a huge advocate for doing left side swamp.
Yeah, and you're one to usually skip out on it, so that it was no surprise that I guess that you skipped it, especially because the first part of Swamp was so loaded. But yeah, g3rd0 also decided to not go for it, maybe thinking that oh, Gem's probably skipping this, so I'm going to do the same.
Yeah, that might be it.
Another thing I just thought of is that you didn't go back for the big chest in Swamp, which had Ether. And we were kind of worried for you that the Mire entrance might be Ether, which would have really, I don't think you would have been very likely to go back into Swamp, very soon, I would say.
Actually, I was planning to go back into Swamp at least before Turtle Rock. Mostly because g3rd0 and I were talking about some routing stuff for the race, and well, like the 200 IQ play of going back into Swamp after gambling to skip left side Swamp was the one thing we talked about, so I figured I'd just do it.
Yeah, well, thankfully you didn't need to.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Also, how about that boots location?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I regretted it and also was kind of happy that I didn't check Desert Ledge when I was doing Agina.
Yeah, that probably would have made you go back there earlier, right? Well, as earlier if you could have.
Yeah, I couldn't really go earlier, so didn't even really matter. But I don't know. If I had seen them at like 10 minutes, I just would have wanted them all see it, and then I think I got them like 50 minutes later, like at an hour.
Ooh, and I think that sound means that we're being joined by g3rd0. GG's, man. Tough break.
Yo, GG. And congrats to Jim for winning.
GG.
GG.
We were talking with Jem already a little bit about that the first big decider or difference maker, I would rather call it, was you completely, going all in on that Tower of Hera play. Was that, did you just think that was something you needed to do? Kind of a meta-gamey decision maybe in a little bit?
Not at all. That was like kind of an accident, I guess. Like I autopiloted into Hera, then I heard the music, and I thought, okay, I'll get one item out of these first two chests, and then I'll just leave because I'm in here already. But then there were no items, and I climbed to the next two chests, and there were no items either. So I had to kill Moldom for my first item, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'll do the basement now as well. Like I wasn't planning on doing Pendant Hera beforehand, it just kinda happened.
Oh yeah, well, I know how that goes. That's bad, man.
But I mean, it was a 6-minute difference, I think. So it's not like that was the only thing that kept me from winning this.
No, not really. I can't really think of many other big difference makers. There were small things, like you ended up checking the bombos tablet before you went up to grab the big bomb from the bomb vendor, but Gem was already pretty much done by this point.
I guess the only other big difference that we saw would have been that g3rd0, you full cleared ice and Gem go moded that, so that probably makes up the rest of that time, I think.
Yeah, possibly. Like my early sequencing wasn't that good as well. I was really worried. Like I went before Spy Cave where the mirror was. I went to Agina's cave because I thought that was my last location. Because for some reason I thought that the cave that I found in Port was bow locked. So Spy Cave wouldn't have been in logic. But then when I went through Spy Cave, I noticed that cave isn't bow locked at all, and I'm probably going to find something here. So yeah.
Yeah, that was the last location for both of you at that point. We had kind of exhausted all of the options, and it was still pretty close at that point, all things considered. So both of you definitely had the same kind of, I guess, surprise to find that your last location, the Spike Cave, had the mirror there. Yeah.
It was quite crazy. And as we were saying earlier, I think before you came in here, Gerdo, it was pretty linear for a long while. Like, it kind of railroaded you guys into places. It didn't leave you with a lot of choices to diverge, really.
Yeah. It's probably true. Like, after I did Hera and for nothing, I really felt behind at that point because I knew he wasn't going to do Hera. So I did some strange plays, like skipping left side swamp. I thought that
Nice.
I heard that he thought I would skip it, so he skipped it as well. And that was exactly my reasoning. And now he thought I would do it, and therefore he would skip it. And I also thought that he would do it, so that was kind of funny. I also liked that we both were going to go back to left side swamp before going to Turtle Rock. We talked a bit.
Yeah, that would have been very interesting to see. I
Yeah.
mean, it was already quite surprising to see you both go, nah, left side swamp, who cares? We're leaving.
Yeah, like at that point I felt like my only chance to win is if he went to Turtle Rock without the ice rod. So I would fully commit to not going to Turtle Rock. I would have even done Palace of Darkness and the pedestal before going to Turtle Rock.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately,
yeah.
Gem just kind of galaxy brained it all the way through.
Yeah.
So, Gem, now you're guaranteed to get at the very least $500 out of this, if not more, if you manage to defeat a couple more people. That's gotta feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's kind of great.
Finally, all those grueling hours in the rando mines paying off.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you'll play the winner of the Korek Pika Pals series, which has I think I'm not sure what the score is on that one, or if they're actually even raced yet. I think they're scheduled for a little later in the week. Any thoughts on either of those two runners?
Well, I'd like to play Korek, simply because we're also friends, just like me and Gerdo. So we can do some sick metagaming again.
Oh, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, but as far as I know, he lost his first race against Pika Pals, unfortunately. So, well, hopefully he can win the other two.
Nice. So, yeah, I guess we don't have too much else to say. We've got another match coming up on Speed Gaming here. It's going to be the Andy Salty Fry Game 2. So we probably want to clear out for that. That should be getting underway within the next, 15, 20 minutes or so. So, Herfy, you got anything left to say?
I mean, I just want to give a big shout out to Speed Gaming for making all this possible and putting up this tournament. It's really great fun, and we're seeing some very high level playing. Of course, I also want to thank Gem and Gerdo again for letting us restream them and putting up some great matches here. Last but not least, I want to thank Linkforce again for tracking all the wonderful items that we found. And of course, I want to thank you, Sabatander, for calming this with me. We finally made it happen.
Yep, after all this time. Yeah, thanks a lot, Herfy. It's been a real blast coming this one with you. I hope we get to do it again sometime soon. And yeah, shoutouts to both our runners, Gem and Gerdo. Give them a follow. They really deserve it. And I guess that's going to do it for us. So thank you so much for watching, and keep it on this channel as the Andy and Salty Fry match will be starting up pretty soon. And that's going to do it for us. So enjoy the rest of your rando evening.
Yep, have a great night.